You're listening to Reddit's Secret Confessions. I caught my girlfriend cheating on me with my coworker, and I still feel like my body is running on static. I keep replaying it in my head and I can't calm down. My chest feels heavy, like someone is pressing down on it, and no matter how much I breathe, I don't feel like I'm getting enough air. Her name is Emily. We've been together almost 3 years. I honestly thought she was the person I'd end up marrying. We lived together for a little over 2 years, split rent, bought furniture together, shared groceries, shared all the boring little routines that make you think you're building a future with someone. She knew every detail about me, what side of the bed I sleep on, how I take my coffee, how I always forget my keys. I thought I knew her too. I thought we were solid. A few months ago, one of my coworkers, Daniel, told me he needed a new place to live. His lease was ending and he didn't want to renew. We weren't close, but we were friendly enough. I told him about the unit across the hall from mine, since it had just opened up. I figured it would be convenient to have someone I already knew as a neighbor. At the time, it felt like I was doing him a favor. Looking back, I basically set myself up for disaster. Daniel moved in a couple of weeks later. I even helped him carry some of his heavier boxes up the stairs. That's when he first met Emily. Nothing seemed off. She was polite, made a few light-hearted comments about how our building always smelled like fried onions because of the restaurant downstairs. I didn't think anything of it. A few weeks later was Daniel's birthday. He invited a handful of people from work, and since we lived across the hall, it felt rude not to go. Emily and I showed up, hung out for a while, had some drinks. That was the first time I noticed something strange. She laughed harder at his jokes than I thought was normal. He seemed more focused on her than anyone else in the room, but I told myself I was just being insecure. I didn't want to be that jealous boyfriend who ruins the night over nothing. After that, I started noticing patterns. Emily mentioned Daniel more often in casual conversation. She'd say he texted her a funny meme. She said he asked if he could borrow our screwdriver. She said he wanted her to water his plants while he was out of town for a weekend. At first, I told myself it was neighbor stuff, normal, harmless, but it piled up. Then there were the inside jokes I didn't understand. Notifications on her phone at odd hours, the way she smiled when his name popped up. I confronted her once. I told her it made me uncomfortable how much she was talking to him. She immediately flipped it on me. She said I was paranoid. She told me I had trust issues. She even said I was insulting her by suggesting it. She made me feel like I was crazy. I remember sitting there afterward, apologizing to her for bringing it up. That memory makes me sick now. Fast forward to last week. I had a 3-day business trip planned. I told Emily I'd be gone until Saturday. But the client canceled early, and I drove home after just 1 day. I thought it would be a fun surprise. On the way, I picked up her favorite food sushi with extra ginger, miso soup, dumplings. The smell filled my car so strongly, I actually rolled down the windows for a bit. I remember smiling, thinking how happy she'd be when I walked in with it. When I got home, everything felt slightly off. The hallway was unusually quiet. Our neighbor's TV wasn't blaring like it usually does. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment was dim, just one lamp on in the living room. I set the food down on the counter and called Emily's name. No response. Then I heard it. Voices from the bedroom, her voice, and a man's voice, low, familiar. My stomach sank. My chest felt tight. I froze in the hallway. I could hear them laughing together, not just talking, laughing. That sound hit me harder than anything else. I walked down the hall. Every step felt heavy. The floor creaked like it was exposing me. My hands were shaking so badly I had to grip the wall for balance. I pushed the bedroom door open. There she was, Emily, with Daniel. I can still see her face when she realized I was standing there. Her eyes went wide. Her expression changed from shock to guilt to panic in seconds. Daniel just froze like a kid caught stealing. My brain turned into static. I don't even remember what they said. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the food. I didn't even speak. I just stood there long enough for the image to burn into my head, then turned around and walked out. The sound of the door closing behind me is stuck in my memory. I sat in my car for hours. The smell of the sushi made me want to vomit. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles hurt. I couldn't cry. I couldn't scream. I just sat there staring at the dashboard, replaying the moment on a loop. Eventually, I drove to my friend Oliver's place. I texted him and asked if I could crash. He didn't ask questions, just opened the door. I lay down on his couch, staring at the ceiling until morning. I didn't sleep. My body was exhausted, but my mind wouldn't shut off. When I checked my phone, I had a dozen texts from Emily. None of them were apologies. She just asked where I was, if I was okay, if we could talk. Not once did she say sorry. It was all vague, like she wanted to erase what happened. I didn't respond. Later, when I knew she'd be at work, I went back to the apartment. I grabbed essentials clothes, my laptop, toiletries. I thought about leaving a note but stopped myself. Why should I? She knew exactly what she had done. I left without a word. I blocked her number. I blocked her on every app. I blocked Daniel too. But here's the thing. I still have to see him at work, and I have no idea how I'm going to handle that. The morning after I walked out, I felt like my head was full of sand. Heavy. Slow. Every sound felt too loud. Even the sound of Oliver making coffee in the kitchen made my chest ache, because it reminded me of the mornings Emily and I used to have together. I kept checking my phone even though I blocked her. I don't know why. Habit, maybe. I wanted to see if she would somehow break through the block, but she didn't. The silence was worse than the messages because it gave my brain room to wander. I dragged myself to work that day. I didn't want to go, but I couldn't hide forever. The moment I walked into the office, I felt eyes on me. I kept telling myself I was imagining it, but I knew word would get around eventually. People talk. They notice things. By lunch, Daniel pulled me aside. He asked if we could talk privately. My heart started pounding in my chest so loud I was sure everyone in the break room could hear it. We walked out to the parking lot. I thought maybe he'd apologize, maybe he'd show some kind of remorse. Instead, he looked me straight in the eye and said he wasn't going to apologize because he liked Emily. Just like that. No shame. No regret. Like I was supposed to respect his honesty. I can't even explain the rage I felt. My fists clenched on their own. It took everything in me not to swing at him right there. If we hadn't been at work, I don't know what I would have done, but I forced myself to stay calm. I told him he could have her. I told him he wasn't getting any kind of respect from me. And then I told him I'd be reporting everything to HR. His face changed for the first time, a flicker of panic. But he didn't say anything. He just shrugged and walked away. That afternoon, I went straight to HR. I explained everything as calmly as I could, not the personal details, just that Daniel was involved with my live-in partner and that it was creating a hostile environment for me. I told them I couldn't focus on my work if I had to interact with him daily. They listened, took notes, and promised they would take action. The next day, Daniel was transferred to another team. Not a full relocation, but at least we weren't sitting in the same meetings anymore. I still saw him in the halls, the parking lot, sometimes in the break room. Every time, it felt like a knife twisting in my stomach. He avoided eye contact, which was the only small relief. Meanwhile, Emily kept trying. Even though I blocked her number, she started emailing me. The subject line said things like, "Please talk," or "You don't understand." The messages were long paragraphs about how it was a mistake, how it didn't mean anything, how we could fix things. She wrote that she was scared to lose me, that she didn't even like Daniel, that it just happened. Reading her words made my blood boil. She had 1,000 words to explain herself, but not a single actual apology. Not one line where she took accountability. It was all about how she felt, what she wanted, how scared she was. Nothing about the fact that she destroyed me. I stopped opening her emails. I set a filter so they went straight to spam. Oliver let me crash with him for a while, but I knew I couldn't stay there forever. His couch wasn't a long-term solution. I started looking for my own place. It was depressing scrolling through listings of tiny studios with peeling paint and outdated appliances, but I just wanted somewhere that was mine, somewhere I didn't have to share with her. A week later, I signed a lease for a small studio across town. It wasn't fancy cracked tiles in the bathroom, noisy plumbing, neighbors who slammed doors late at night, but it was mine. The first night I slept there, on an air mattress with nothing but a pillow and a blanket, I felt more peace than I had in weeks. At work, people started to notice I was different. A couple of colleagues asked if I was okay. I didn't tell them the full story, just that Emily and I had split up and that I was going through a rough time. Most of them respected that and didn't pry. A few probably knew more because gossip spreads fast, but no one confronted me about it directly. The only time it got unbearable was when Daniel was around. Seeing him walk past me in the hall, acting like nothing happened, made my skin crawl. I avoided eye contact, avoided conversations. HR promised they were working on transferring him to a different branch entirely. But until that happened, I had to live with the discomfort. Emily didn't stop trying. She showed up at Oliver's once, standing outside his building. She texted him asking if I was there. He told her to leave and blocked her number. She sent a letter to my new place, even though I never gave her the address. I don't know how she found it. Maybe through mail forwarding. The letter was more of the same, how she loved me, how it was a mistake, how we could rebuild. She never wrote the one sentence I needed to hear. I'm sorry for what I did. I tore the letter in half and threw it in the trash. Living alone has been harder than I expected. The silence is loud. Every little creak at night makes me jump. I cook for one now, and half the time I don't even bother. I eat cereal for dinner or order cheap takeout. The bed feels too big for one person, even though it's just a twin mattress. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night reaching for her out of habit, and the emptiness makes my stomach drop all over again. But there are small victories. Waking up without anxiety pressing on my chest, coming home and knowing no one is lying to me, not smelling her perfume in the sheets. Those small things remind me that leaving was the only option. I'm not ready to date again. I don't even think about it. I'm focused on work, on slowly piecing myself back together. I've started going to the gym again just to burn off the anger. I go for long drives with no destination, just to sit with my thoughts in a space that doesn't feel suffocating. Some nights are still hard. The memory of walking into that bedroom plays in my head like a film I can't shut off. The way Emily's eyes widened, the way Daniel froze. I replay it over and over, and it still feels unreal. A few weeks since everything happened, I wish I could say I feel better, but the truth is it's a mix of numbness and sharp pain that comes out of nowhere. Some days I wake up and go through the motions like nothing happened. Other days I can't get out of bed because my chest feels too heavy. Healing isn't linear, I guess. The studio apartment feels more like mine now. I've unpacked a few boxes, bought some cheap furniture, and started making it livable. The kitchen is tiny, the stove has one burner that doesn't work, and the fridge makes a weird buzzing sound at night. But I remind myself this space is free of lies. I don't walk in worrying what's going on behind closed doors. Work is still complicated. Daniel and I don't talk, but we cross paths. Every time I see him, it feels like a reminder carved into my skin. HR said they're trying to transfer him to another branch, but until then, I have to deal with it. I keep my head down, do my job, and leave as soon as the day ends, colleagues whisper. I can feel it. A few brave ones asked if I was okay, but most just keep their distance. I don't blame them. It's messy, and no one wants to step into someone else's drama. Emily hasn't given up. Even with the blocks, she finds ways. More letters. Notes slipped under my door. Once she left a bag of groceries outside my apartment, random things she knew I liked, like peanut butter and the brand of cereal I always bought. It made my skin crawl. I didn't bring it inside. I left it in the hallway until someone else took it. Every time she tries to reach me, it feels like salt in the wound. She says she wants to talk, to explain, but the truth is I don't need explanations. I saw what I saw. That's all I'll ever need. The hardest part is the quiet moments. When I'm lying in bed and the apartment creaks, when I'm brushing my teeth and suddenly think about how Emily used to hum while doing the same, when I'm walking home and see a couple holding hands, and for a second, I imagine it's us again before everything broke. I've stopped checking her social media, but once in a while, curiosity gets the better of me. A mutual friend tagged her in a photo recently. She looked happy. I stared at that picture too long, wondering how someone can look so carefree after destroying another person's trust. Then I shut it down. I can't go down that rabbit hole again. Oliver keeps reminding me I did the right thing. He says I dodged a bullet, that I would have wasted years on someone who didn't value me. He's probably right, but it doesn't make the sting any less. It's one thing to know something logically and another to feel it in your chest. I started writing in a notebook at night, just dumping thoughts onto paper so they don't eat me alive. Some pages are angry rants. Some are just lists of things I miss, like cooking dinner together, watching dumb shows on the couch, even fighting over whose turn it was to do dishes. It hurts to write, but it also feels like letting poison bleed out. The loneliness is real. Weekends are the worst. Couples everywhere, friends busy with their own lives. Sometimes I drive to places Emily and I used to go just to remind myself that I can still exist there without her. The park, the coffee shop near the office, the little bookstore downtown. They all feel different now, like the air itself is heavier. I've had a few people suggest I try dating again. I can't. I don't even look at anyone that way. The idea of trusting another person with my heart feels impossible. I'm not bitter about love. I still believe in it somewhere deep down, but right now it feels like a language. I forgot how to speak. Nights are the hardest. I wake up sometimes reaching for her out of muscle memory, and the empty space beside me feels colder than the rest of the bed. I tell myself it's temporary, that one day I'll stop reaching. But for now, it happens more than I'd like to admit. Daniel, surprisingly, hasn't tried to talk to me again. He keeps his head down at work. Maybe HR warned him. Maybe he doesn't care. Sometimes I catch him glancing at me, and I wonder if he feels even 1 ounce of guilt. But I'll never know, because I refuse to give him the satisfaction of a conversation. The truth is, betrayal changes you. It's not just about losing a partner. It's about losing a version of yourself that trusted freely. It's about questioning your own instincts. It's about walking into your own home and realizing it was never really safe. That's the part that eats at me the most. my safe place wasn't safe at all. I try to hold on to small victories, cooking one real meal instead of skipping dinner, going to the gym even when I don't feel like it, answering a friend's text instead of isolating. Those small choices feel like pebbles, but maybe they'll add up to a path forward. Sometimes I wonder if Emily will move in with Daniel. The thought makes me nauseous. The idea of them laughing together in the apartment across the hall from our old place feels like a cruel joke. I avoid that side of town completely. I don't want to know. What I do know is that I'll never see Emily the same way again. Even if she showed up at my door begging, crying, promising to change, it wouldn't matter. That part of me that trusted her is gone. I don't know where this leaves me. Some nights I think about packing up and moving to a different city altogether, just to erase the constant reminders. Other nights I tell myself I can rebuild here, slowly, one day at a time. What I do know is that life doesn't pause just because you're broken. Bills still come. Work still expects you to show up. The world keeps spinning even when you're stuck replaying one single night. And that's where I'm at, stuck between who I was before and who I'm supposed to be after. Maybe tomorrow will feel lighter, maybe not. I guess I'll find out. Subscribe for more Reddit secret confessions.